I couldn't resist the allure of the cabin in the woods. Tucked away in a remote forest, it was a rustic haven far from the chaos of the modern world. The moment I stepped foot inside, a chill ran down my spine. The air felt colder, the shadows darker. But I was undeterred, excited for a solitary retreat to find peace and inspiration for my writing. The cabin was quaint, with creaky wooden floors and a crackling fireplace. As I settled in, I couldn't shake off a growing sense of unease. The solitude that I once craved now felt suffocating. The nearest neighbor was miles away, and my phone had no signal. But I brushed off my anxiety, attributing it to my overactive imagination. Days turned into weeks, and my isolation deepened. I struggled to find inspiration, and the cabin seemed to have a life of its own. Objects moved on their own, strange whispers echoed through the walls at night, and the forest outside seemed to be watching me with its ancient eyes. I became paranoid, constantly on edge, and my emotions swung from elation to terror in a matter of moments. One stormy night, as I sat by the fireplace, a tapping on the window shattered my nerves. I peered outside, but the darkness was impenetrable. The tapping continued, growing louder and more insistent. My heart raced as I cautiously approached the window, and what I saw sent shivers down my spine. A figure stood in the rain, staring at me with empty, soulless eyes. It was a gaunt, pale figure with tangled hair and a twisted smile. I screamed, but the figure vanished into thin air, leaving me in a state of sheer terror. As the days passed, my mental state deteriorated rapidly. I struggled to distinguish reality from my vivid nightmares. The cabin seemed to have a mind of its own, with doors slamming shut, furniture rearranging itself, and eerie laughter echoing through the halls. I was tormented by haunting whispers that seemed to come from nowhere, and I became convinced that I was being watched at all times. My emotions were a chaotic mess. I swung from paralyzing fear to overwhelming anger, and I couldn't trust my own mind. I started seeing strange symbols etched into the walls, and I became obsessed with deciphering their meaning. I scoured old books and researched the history of the cabin, but the more I uncovered, the more sinister it became. One day, I ventured into the forest to clear my mind. But as I walked deeper into the trees, the woods closed in on me like a living entity. The branches seemed to reach out for me, and the shadows danced in unnatural ways. I stumbled upon an old, overgrown clearing and froze in horror. In the center of the clearing stood a stone altar, adorned with blood-stained symbols that matched the ones in the cabin. My blood ran cold as I realized the true nature of the cabin's history. With newfound knowledge, I descended into madness. I became convinced that the cabin was possessed by an ancient evil, and that I was chosen as its next victim. I saw visions of the gaunt figure taunting me, and I heard whispers urging me to offer a sacrifice. I became consumed by an insatiable paranoia, unable to trust anyone or anything. One fateful night, the cabin revealed its true intentions. I woke up to a blood-curdling scream that echoed through the halls. I rushed to investigate, but the cabin seemed to have transformed into a nightmarish labyrinth. The walls shifted and the doors vanished. I stumbled through the twisting corridors, my mind a whirlwind of fear and confusion. The cabin seemed to taunt me, leading me deeper into its dark secrets. The whispers grew louder, urging me to give in to the darkness. My sanity hung by a thread as I fought to resist the cabin's malevolent influence. At last, I found myself in a hidden chamber, lit by flickering candles. The symbols on the walls glowed with an otherworldly light, and the air was heavy with a palpable sense of evil. In the center of the room stood the gaunt figure, its eyes glowing with an unnatural hue. I knew I had to confront the entity that had tormented me for so long. With a surge of courage, I confronted the figure, demanding to know its intentions. Its laughter echoed through the chamber as it revealed its true identity. It was a spirit of an ancient witch who had been bound to the cabin for centuries, seeking a way to break free from its cursed existence. It had lured me to the cabin, using my own fears and emotions against me, to serve as a vessel for its escape. Rage and terror gripped me as I realized the gravity of the situation. The cabin was not just haunted, but a gateway to a dark realm of malevolence. I refused to be its pawn any longer. I fought against the witch's influence, using every ounce of strength to resist her manipulations. The cabin shook violently, and the walls closed in, but I stood my ground, determined to break the witch's hold on me. The witch's power surged, unleashing a torrent of darkness that threatened to overwhelm me. I struggled to maintain my sanity, my mind a battleground of fear and determination. With every step, the cabin seemed to fight back, the walls closing in tighter, the whispers growing louder, and the shadows converging on me. But I refused to give in. I remembered the symbols I had discovered, and I realized they held the key to banishing the witch. With trembling hands, I traced the symbols on the walls, reciting an ancient incantation. The cabin shook violently, and the witch screamed in fury, but I pressed on, fueled by sheer willpower. As the incantation reached its climax, a blinding light burst forth, dispelling the darkness that had engulfed the cabin. The witch's screams turned into wails of defeat, and she vanished in a burst of black smoke. The cabin fell silent, and the walls ceased their relentless closing. Exhausted but victorious, I stumbled out of the cabin, back into the moonlit forest. The nightmare was finally over, and the weight of the ordeal lifted from my shoulders. I vowed never to return to the cabin, knowing the evil that lurked within its walls. Months later, I returned to the small town of Willow Creek, forever changed by my harrowing experience. The cabin remained abandoned, a grim reminder of the darkness that had consumed me. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about the cabin's mysterious history, but I kept my own secret, knowing that not all stories are meant to be shared. As I moved on with my life, the memories of the cabin and the witch slowly faded, but the scars remained. I learned the importance of facing my fears and the dangers of succumbing to darkness. The isolation had taken its toll, but it had also shown me the strength within me. I continued my writing, drawing from my experiences to create stories that sent shivers down readers' spines. But deep down, a lingering question remained: was the witch truly gone, or was she biding her time, waiting for her next victim?